Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome. My name is Anish Jain, Managing Director at the IBF. On behalf of myself, the IBF team, our forum panelists, and all of our sponsors, welcome to our special Leadership Business Planning, Forecasting, and S&OP Forum. Firstly, I want to take this opportunity to personally thank all of you for joining us at our 2020 forum. The IBF feels it's the leaders of the leaders in their field, the best companies that recognize we don't have all the answers within our own four walls. We typically hold this event in Orlando, Florida, the day before our Best Practices Conference. And although it's a shame we cannot shake hands and thrive from the energy that we get from all of you, hundreds of S&OP and forecasting professionals that we normally meet in Orlando this time of year, we have to thank technology that we're still able to at least share knowledge and learn despite having to socially distance during this unprecedented time. Of course, I hope you and your families are safe and healthy and out of harm's way. I know many people and organizations are facing challenges, no different at the IBF. Although the pipeline of what keeps IBF going has changed dramatically in the last few months, it has been our duty to service the forecasting and planning community that is so dear to us. We hope you have enjoyed the many webinars, town halls, roundtables, podcasts, articles that we expect provides you with confidence as you navigate through what we're all dealing with today. But an IBF conference or an IBF forum is where it all comes together. And as COVID-19 remains a threat that we all have to deal with globally, we continue to see significant shifts in demand, supply chain disruptions, and changes in consumer behavior. And of course, what has been traditionally correlated with driving demand may not be the case anymore. Some businesses, although a few, continue to do quite well despite poor economic indicators such as GDP and unemployment numbers, where traditionally these indicators were more correlated. But with the uncertainty we're dealing with, it can be said this pandemic is actually stress testing our S&OP and forecasting processes. But of course, I want to be clear. I hate to say that a pandemic is a good thing or lives lost is a good thing. It's not. By no means is that ever a good thing. But as it challenges our existing planning processes, it is bringing to the surface what our shortcomings are. I've spoken to IBF members that have implemented S&OP best practices based on IBF principles, and they're holding up quite well. So for some companies, this is not a major surprise. They have been through previous outbreaks, hurricanes, earthquakes, forest fires, floods, terrorism, military conflict, new legislation, and many other unplanned events. But of course, there are other IBF members I've spoken to where they had on the agenda to put a cadence together for balancing supply with demand, but it wasn't prioritized. It was delayed. Now those companies are acting quickly to learn and build the capabilities they need now, more so than ever before. Yes, they're being reactive, but better now than never. And of course, there continues to be challenges to get S&OP and forecasting properly embedded at companies. And learning where other companies are and what they're doing can be helpful. The IBF regularly collects from our base and from fresh data of nearly 700 respondents globally. We have research to share. And it continues to show that a spotlight is growing brighter on many of the common issues during this time. For one, we have found that many are quite unhappy with the performance of the forecasting process, Of course, it's difficult to forecast today while we're morphing into a new normal where history is not as valuable for helping us to predict future outcomes. But 80% of companies have graded their forecasting performance either poor, fair, or somewhat good. So therefore, 80% of companies are pretty much lukewarm on their forecasting performance. Ownership and where the forecasting function resides continues to be a hot topic. And from our research, we continue to see supply chain dominate, where for 50% of the companies, forecasting resides in supply chain. And the second function where forecasting resides is sales, representing 15% of the companies. And if you're wondering if you and your company should embrace a one-number forecasting process, well, nearly 60% of the companies have a one-number forecasting process in place. We also asked how supportive top management is for S&OP, and over 60% mentioned that top management support is either poor, fair, or good. Therefore, support can be considered lukewarm at best for this group. And 75% of these companies rated their S&OP performance lukewarm as well, which is not surprising while having relatively weak top management support. We also asked, what is the main hurdle in getting S&OP started or running well at the company? Well, what stood out the most is that many feel leadership not understanding the value of S&OP is a major hurdle. Also, S&OP is a cross-functional process. You need all major functions in leadership to be active participants. But in terms of who is not supported for S&OP, we're seeing sales and marketing on top. Nearly 30% of sales and marketing are not supportive of S&OP. Of course, the most supportive function is supply chain, which is not surprising because for companies that have S&OP, over 50% have S&OP reporting to supply chain. And we also ask, how do you measure S&OP effectiveness or performance? The most common was forecast accuracy, then customer service or fill rates, and then inventory levels. So there's a lot more IBF research that can be shared. I hope you found some of these findings useful. You'll be hearing much of this data being reported and repeated during the next 2 days. If you're not one already, we also encourage you to become an IBF member to be eligible for our research reports too. IBF has an abundance of resources that can help you build and sustain forecasting and planning capabilities. We look forward to having you being as part of the IBF tribe. So today, we're proud to say we've brought together an experienced, knowledgeable, and dedicated group of executives that are here to help you find solutions to the many challenges mentioned earlier and more. Therefore, I hope all of you are as excited as I am to be here